In this video help, we're going to cover how to use the billing invoice short. Let's go ahead and talk about a little bit about the invoice before we go do that. The first thing you need to do when you're getting ready to do an invoice is to make sure that your date spans are what you're looking for. And for example, if there was a different date span, say for May of this year, and there were a series of charges, review the billing portal before you actually go do the invoice so you understand what you're going to do when you get to the invoice. For example, in this invoice, it's pretty simple. There's one stay and a reservation deposit and a balance for one person. And what that would be is you want to look at this to make sure that that's what you want to bill. You would go over and you would click on the billing invoice to bring up the invoice. And in this particular case, it brings the direct data over that you were looking at, and you can go ahead and print. If you were up on the server, you could print from the server using not this button, but the regular print button from the server. This is for the desktop or if you're going to use FM Go, there's actually a menu option at the top for printing, so you would go up there to print from it. The iPad offers several apps that work in conjunction with this app to do things like sign and send and PDF Maker, although that's built into FileMaker Go, where you can actually send PDFs and turn these into an Excel data file or do screen prints. It's really up to what you want to do on your iPad. Okay, so let's go ahead and make sure that we know how this is going to print and how it's going to look and everything. The first thing you want to do is put your business name and address at the top by just clicking in and editing this and adding your own information. The next thing you would do is you can right click and insert a picture to replace this holder that's in here now with your own logo. This will size your logo down automatically to fit, but you may have to do a little bit of work with your graphic that you're going to put in there, and you may have to size it accordingly and then go ahead and put it in. In this screen, it automatically picks up the information from the booking screen and adds the booking information to this invoice. In addition, you see it has a booking ID. There are two lookup fields that are used in conjunction with a find if you want to just pick one of the records or one of the clients from the app as far as the booking screen is concerned and the billing tab. What you would do is you would go into find mode, you would drop down this list and pick the name of the person you want, or the name and or the billing ID. The other thing that you need to do is if you do have more than one billing listing where you have numbers of items on this list, when you come to this screen, it will display all of the current and history inputs on here. What you would want to do is you'd want to pick the date span that you want to actually have printed, and then you go ahead and put the formula in, which would be this way. You click a second time, you put greater than or equal to, and then the start date. In this case, I'm just going to use the month of April, and I'm going to put in the month of April for 2013, and then I'm going to say less than or equal to, and put the bounding date at the end of the month. So I'm going to say, now watch, this is not going to return anything, so I'm going to have to change the date because this stay was for the 3rd that I'm going to put in here. And then I'm going to put in, okay, a little other correction. Let's put 3/1. See how easy it is? You just actually add the date, 3/ let's put in 29/213. Okay, now that I've got the date range in there, I still want to put in the name of the person, so I'm going to add that. I'm just going to put, well, let's put Ben Franklin in there, just picking him. And if you wanted to know if Ben Franklin's ID was, you go up here and there's number 2 is Ben Franklin. You could pick that as well as if you want to. Then just go ahead and say perform the find. Ben only had one item during the month of March, so this is the item that would be in his invoice, and notice that everything in this invoice has now changed to fit that particular invoice and invoice amount. In this case, it doesn't show that he's paid anything, and there's no date and or amount paid. So this is an outstanding balance, and then you would go ahead and bill it. Once he's paid it, you can go ahead and send the invoice or have the invoice where it shows the balance due. Now here's your option if you want to. If you're taking payment, you could go ahead and put in the payment as you're going to do the invoice. That way the balance would be 0 on the invoice. Sometimes you want to do it one way where it actually shows an outstanding balance as though it's a statement that you're giving him on the balance due. But if he's checking out, you would want to go ahead and put the date paid and the date the amount paid. So you can do that right from here actually. You could put the date in, and then you could put the amount paid in. You should do that though in the payment screen, because on the payment screen you're going to want to show the way it was paid, either Visa, MasterCard, check, or cash. So you want to go ahead and do that in there. It's very quickly done. All you have to do is go back. You'll notice that you're actually in his record. Here's the payment. You would do the drop down for the date, the amount due, the amount paid. The balance will come up automatically for paid, and then paid with would be Visa or MasterCard or whatever, and then the actual check or credit card number. Okay, that being said, now that we've got it there, let's go back over to the short invoice, and then it would display over here at that point. Then you can just go ahead and print the invoice. None of this stuff over in this area will print. Now recall, you do not delete invoices on this screen. You do not delete invoices on the screen. If you're going to delete anything, it would be a row of an item in the invoice, and you would do that from the actual billing here, and you would go over to the record here where it has a line item, and you would delete it in this by clicking the delete button. So do not ever delete an invoice. If you tried to, I don't even think there's a way to do it. I don't have it set up that way, so you would not be able to delete it. But just as a point in hand, do not delete it. Obviously, when go back and recap a little bit, if you do the payment, it would show up in here the sum amount paid and then the balance due. If you paid the whole thing, would go back to 0. Okay, this covers the invoice. The next thing we're going to do is do the long invoice. So go to that long invoice movie and watch that. Thank you.